In order to succeed as a leader, you need to develop certain personal qualities. You need to be honorable, have a passion for what you do, display a well-rounded sense of humor, and stay humble and curious to learn. In addition, you need to become a master communicator and adept at dealing with 4 paradoxes of leadership. Now, all of these qualities can be learned, and when blended together, these are the personal qualities that distinguish great leaders. Let me start with what I call the 4 H's of leadership: honor, heart, humility, and humor. Honor means following a moral and ethical code that enables others to place a high level of trust in you. Heart is having a passion for what you do, wanting to press on in the face of disappointment or loss. Humility channels your ego needs toward a larger goal of building a great culture or a great organization. And humor maintains a sense of humor about yourself and what life has brought. As I mentioned in the previous chapter, the word communication literally means to make common. At its most basic level, it means letting your needs be known. At its highest level, communication means building strong, trusting relationships with people whose perspectives are very different from your own. The educator and psychotherapist Virginia Satir wrote, "Once a human being has arrived on this earth, communication is the largest single factor determining what kinds of relationships he makes with others and what happens to him in the world. It also determines whether you're capable of being a highly effective leader." Much of my work in developing leaders and leading organizations focuses on communication. Since publishing the book Straight Talk in 1997, I've continued to develop my understanding that people can develop 4 different levels or powers of communication. And here's a description of these 4 powers. The first power is the power that we really have starting at about when we're born, which is the power to express ourselves and to make our needs be known. It's a skill that we all master, or most of us master, fairly early in life. And of course, over time, we develop more sophisticated and nuanced ways of expressing ourselves. The trick here is to learn how to express our inner scripts, the things that embarrass us if we express them, in a way that shows us that we are genuinely conflicted about them. For example, in giving feedback to a boss who handled a situation with her team insensitively, you might say, "I have an inner script. While I know this might cost me my job, I'd like to find a time when we could talk about how you might have handled that interaction more effectively." The second power is listening and responding. As we grow older, we learn how to participate in the conversation, recognizing that the other person is our equal and deserves our respect and attention. We begin to establish patterns of communication based on reciprocity and trust building. At a more advanced level, people who master this second power can extract a deeper meaning from a conversation than simply what is said. They can paraphrase what they've heard. They can interpret what someone means and add layers of meaning to it. The third power, regulating attention and intention. People with a third power show a level of self-awareness and self-control that distinguishes them from second power communicators. It's clear to everyone that you are communicating from a place of considerable self-awareness. People with this power can vary their level of attention and their level of intention, thereby achieving high levels of emotional intelligence. Let me talk about attention first. There are 4 levels of attention you can bring to any communication. Level 1, volition. Is my attention voluntary or involuntary? Level 2, consciousness. Am I in a highly conscious state or am I in a routine state? Level 3, affinity. Am I attracted to or repelled by the communication? And 4, quality. In level 4, I'm asking, is my attention creative? Is it analytical or empathetic? Am I varying my attention based on the situation? Third power communicators are aware of each level of attention. Moreover, depending on the situation, they display the social and political awareness to select the appropriate setting within each level. For example, in level 4, if they're talking to someone who's having problems with a colleague, they may choose to respond analytically. "I've had similar experiences, I know what you're going through, and here's how I handled it." Or empathetically, "I can really appreciate how you feel. How can I help?" Or creatively, "It's amazing this happened to you. Let's think together of some ways you could deal with the situation." Third power communicators are also conscious of their intention and can vary that. There are 4 types of intent: affirmative, controlling, defensive, and relinquishing. Only the first type of intent is positive. others lead to conflict. Third power communicators are able to use an affirming intent 90% of the time. Even in the middle of a heated debate, they can say, "I hear what you're saying and I respect your views, even though we disagree." These qualities of emotional intelligence enable your feelings to be an asset rather than a liability in a political world, in a social world. People with good political skills know how to read the cues. They understand that there may be political and social limits to what is possible. Above all, they understand that politics count. The fourth power is understanding and responding to people in their style. People with a fourth power can take their communication one step further. They can vary their communication based on an accurate understanding of the other person's communication preferences and the assumptions that underlie that preference. They have the self-awareness to identify the other person's frame of reference and adapt their own style of communication accordingly, and thus help facilitate productive communication among people with different and often conflicting points of view. To master the fourth power, you have to recognize that even when people are speaking the same language and addressing the same topic, they may be talking and listening past each other within different frames of reference and operating assumptions based simply on their style. You have to learn how to identify these different styles and then learn how to vary your communication style depending on the situation. The fourth power means knowing how to foster better communication by varying your style. In my book, Straight Talk, Turning Communication Upside Down for Strategic Results, I describe the four different communication styles: the director, the expressor, the thinker, and the harmonizer. Each of these operates from a different set of assumptions. Here's a quick snapshot. Directors. Directors are hard-charging, action-oriented leaders focused on results. The director's style of communicating is assertive and task-oriented. Directors operate on the assumption that quick action and decisiveness are valued, and that people are rewarded for getting things done. The sooner the better. Directors frame the world as a competitive place of action and decisiveness. Expressors. Expressors focus on leading through their creative ideas. The expressor's style of communicating is assertive and people-oriented. Their operating assumption is that people should feel free to voice their opinions, think outside the box, and articulate what they feel. They like to entertain. Expressors frame the world as a place where people are recognized for their personal creativity and achievement. Thinkers. Thinkers are detail-oriented leaders and focus on what it takes to get the job done right. The thinker's communication style is less assertive than the director or expressor. Like directors, thinkers are also task-oriented. They assume there's a best way to do things, and it's their job to make sure no mistakes are made. They feel rewarded when they get the details right, when a task or project is done well. They frame the world as a place in which to solve problems and get things done, and get them done right. Harmonizers lead by supporting others. Their communication style is also less assertive than the director or expressor. Like expressors, harmonizers are people-oriented. They operate on the assumption that they need to look after the needs of the team and of other people. They feel rewarded when the team performs well. They frame the world as a place where relationships with people are the most important aspect of their lives, and they prefer to work collaboratively with other people. Now, people are not simply one of these styles. They're an amalgam of all four. But everybody has preferences, and to understand how you communicate, you need to understand how strongly you exhibit each of these styles. This will reveal where you fit on the matrix of communication styles. The fourth power encompasses the highest level of self-awareness. Because they are conscious of people's styles, people with this power can use that awareness to shape how they listen. This is truly powerful listening. As they listen, they are able to apply the matrix of communication styles. They can identify the underlying frame of reference the other person has and respond in that frame. For the person being listened to, it's an amazing experience. I feel truly understood by her when I'm talking with her, is how one person describes it. The difference can be gauged by the reaction you elicit. When you engage in the fourth power, you elicit honest, heartfelt trust. People share their most sensitive stuff. People feel you're truly valuing their point of view. What's important about the fourth power is that it can be learned. It begins by learning your own style. You can go to our website at www.communicationsurvey.net or to straighttalknow.com. You then need to learn how to decipher other people's styles. So change is difficult enough. But for people in leadership roles, change can be made even more difficult because the way is truly never clear. Everywhere you look, there are paradoxes. So here are 4 paradoxes that all leaders need to grapple with. First, the ambition paradox. Leadership is a humble act, but it's undertaken by ambitious people. The assumption paradox. Everyone has to make decisions based on assumptions, but our assumptions are often wrong. The worldview paradox. A leader has to understand multiple worldviews and yet operate in his or her own. And the succession paradox. All leaders must plan for their departure. Because you will deal with all of these paradoxes at some point in your career, it's important to become familiar with them and have a strategy in hand so that rather than being tripped up, you can choose the right road. To build trust and spark and to lead at light speed, you need to develop certain personal qualities. I call these the 4 H's of leadership: heart, honor, humility, and humor. You also need to learn how to become a master communicator, effectively using all 4 powers of communication to express yourself, to listen, to control intention and attention, and to communicate with an appreciation of different styles. In this video, we've also looked at the fact that effective leaders need to be comfortable with paradox. Leaders are chosen based on the congruence between their behaviors and the values that pertain to their culture. But what does this mean in a global organization? Ideas and notions about leadership can vary dramatically depending upon where you're located, from country to country, office to office, really even within the same building. Effective leaders know that while the organization operates in many cultures and worldviews, the organization has its own set of core values, and they make it a priority to ensure the core values of the organization are understood by every employee and customer. When you put all these qualities together, you get one word: integrity. The word literally means to be whole, to be unimpaired. It conveys the notion of being trustworthy. It also implies the ability to think and act in ways that may be counter to the prevailing winds, but in ways that flow out of, in Roosevelt's words, a place of moral leadership.